Hey everybody, my name is Eric Harbin. I'm one of the team members here at NobleCounty.Church, and it's Tuesday, so you know what that means. Another Tuesday tip coming your way. Hey, before I jump in, I want to remind you, if you've not done so already, scroll to the top of the page, wherever it is, hit that follow button. Follow Noble County Community Church on Facebook, because that's going to be the best place for you to get updates, find resources and tips like these, events coming up, all sorts of things, so that you can be up to date on what is happening with Noble County Community Church. For this week's Tuesday tip, I want to talk to you about healthy habits and rhythms. And we're actually going to get into the word here in a moment, and I'm going to read a quick story in Daniel chapter 6. But to give you a little bit of context, Daniel is an Israelite, and in around the year 605 BC, him and some others are actually taken into captivity. King Nebuchadnezzar and his men come and take Israelites and bring them to Babylon. But Daniel and other young men like him were to be trained in the way of a Babylon life. So they would learn the culture, they would learn the language, they would learn the governing affairs, as much as they needed to know, and eventually they would be placed in some sort of service within the king's palace. Okay, now Daniel, he had set himself apart from others because God blessed Daniel with so much wisdom beyond understanding, and he even gave him the ability to interpret dreams and visions. Okay, now Daniel had set himself so much apart that he had rose to high levels of leadership within the government structure of Babylon, and the kings liked him. Every king he served favored Daniel. So here in Daniel chapter 6, we see the same thing happening. King Darius loves Daniel, and the other king's officials do not like that. So they are trying to get Daniel in trouble. And the way they know how to do that is they trick the king into putting a law into place that says you cannot pray to any god, any person, anything except for the king for the next 30 days. And this is where we pick up the story. Daniel chapter 6, verse 10. Now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened towards Jerusalem, and then 3 times a day he gets down on his knees and he prays, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. Okay, that's the key passage that we are going to focus on right now, just as he had done before. This difficult moment comes to Daniel's life. He's at a crossroads. If he prays to the God, he might die. If he decides not to pray for the next 30 days, his life might be spared. But Daniel does just as he had done before. Now I find it super interesting. Check this out. Many of you probably know this. You don't need to know much about prayer to know that you can pray in a lot of different ways. In fact, you could just be walking to work, walking to the coffee shop, taking your kids to the local park, and you could be praying in your mind and nobody would know except for you. But what does Daniel do? Well, Daniel chapter 6 tells us that he goes home, opens up his windows wide towards Jerusalem. Man, this is no private affair. Daniel could have just put a sign out front his lawn that said, hey, over the next 30 days, we're going to be holding some prayer services 3 times a day. Why don't you come by? We're going to be praying to the one true God. Who cares what this law says? This is no private affair. But what does Daniel do? Let me say it one more time. Just as he had done before. So, I think this begs the question for you and for me. What would be said of you when it says just as he or just as she had done before? What habits, what rhythms, what are you cultivating in your life? Because these tough moments are going to come. They will come, and they often come without warning. And I would argue that we fall to what we had always done before. So if you naturally worry, even in small situations, when those big moments come, you're gonna fall to worry. Let me take it a step deeper. If you go to the bottle in tough moments, even when those bigger moments come, you're probably going to turn to the bottle. And then one we can probably all relate to, if you just constantly scroll through social media in every spare moment of the day, that's probably what you're going to turn to every single day. So what habits, what rhythms are you creating in your life? What are you cultivating so that when these tough moments come, you know what to fall to? Because guys, let me tell you what, the enemy loves to mess with our minds. And the best way to combat that is to know the truth of God's word. So let me challenge you today. Go home, or maybe you're home right now, read Daniel. Read the story of Daniel, and he's got some friends in here named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They've got a crazy story as well. Go read these people's stories and see what they do to cultivate a life of prayer and a life of obedience to God. And then reflect. Reflect on your own life. What habits, what rhythms do you currently have? Which ones are not good that you need to completely eliminate? And what might you need to add? Ask God, what healthy habits and rhythms do you want me to have? And then over the next couple weeks, I'm just going to give you some more tips, more resources on ways that you as an individual and then you as a family can start cultivating some healthy habits and rhythms in your life. If you're interested in more resources and tips like this, please go check out NobleCounty.Church. We've got other Tuesday tips and other content and resources for you to help find answers to some of your greatest questions. And also discover your purpose. And if you're interested in a place to find community, man, Noble County Community Church is the place for you. Now, on behalf of Noble County Community Church, we love you and God bless.